The longest-running live comedy music concert series is almost here.
Everything about this is dumb and so am I. Here we go.
MarsCon is happening February 28th through March 1st at the Hilton Minneapolis St. Paul Mall of America, featuring the world-famous Dementia track with performances by The Great Luke Ski, Devo Spice, TD's Kyle and Lynn Zilla, Mikey Mason, Mark with a C, Beth Kinderman and the Player Characters, Cornflake, Brett Glass, Carl Brown, Michael William Hunter, Il Nej, and this year's music guest of honor, Lauren Mayer.
Mom's menopausal with a teen in puberty, not a pretty sight to see. Around here no one talks when we can yell, 'cause we're in hormone hell.
Plus Dementia Water Aerobics and merch at Table 27, Dementia Smackdown Wrestling, and more. Be sure to pick up your copy of the MarsCon 2020 Dementia Track Fundraiser MP3 album with over 4 hours of live music and comedy recorded at MarsCon 2019 for just $20. Visit MarsConDementia.com and click on Shop.
I'm so happy the way that song came out, and I'm absolutely shocked that we put it together in a week and a half.
Registration for a weekend badge is $55 until January 31st, after which the price goes up to $70 at the door. For more info on MarsCon, visit marscon.org. Thanks for listening, funny music fans, and
We will see you at MarsCon 2020. Peace.
Audience, please.
I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Canon. We've been Disney fans our entire lives. And now, as childless adults, we're undertaking a journey through the media that shaped our lives.
Trying to find out if what made them special is still there.
We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hi, Kiki.
Hi, Tuesday.
Rough weekend.
For those of you who don't know, I am a medieval reenactor, and my group just put on our big event this past weekend, which involved me basically being the MC of the entire weekend, which meant that I had to talk for approximately 2 days straight with no microphones or electronic amplification, just my voice being the bullhorn for the entire large site that we were using. And then the weekend culminated in me being the what is called the court herald, which meant I spoke for the royals to be their bullhorn, because you don't want to damage the royals' delicate voices, of course. And then immediately after that, I performed what was basically a 2-hour play to keep people entertained during our feast. So on the second day, I talked for about 6 hours nonstop at the end of the day, after having talked pretty much a day and a half before sporadically. So yesterday I spoke to my dog, and it came out more like, "Hey boy, how's it going?" And he looked at me like I was possessed by a demon. So I was.
So you sounded like a man, perfect for today's movie.
Yes, perfect for today's movie. So I am off vocal rest, but I'm still not at full strength. My apologies. I hope it's still an entertaining episode despite that.
So speaking of today's episode, we are talking about Mulan, 1998, the Disney original. We'll say that.
Yes.
And there is a remake coming out at the end of March, so it's just about 2 months from now. And as we are recording this, Chinese New Year happened. So again, we're right in that nice little comfort zone there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, 今年小了 to anyone who is speaking. My Chinese is rusty. It's been years since I did the
Year of the Rat.
Yes.
I was born in the year of the rooster, and I think you were too.
I was too. Yes. So
yeah, we're kind of old in that regard, or young, depending how you want to look at it.
Yeah, well, it comes around every 12 years, so every 12 years you can just make yourself 12 years younger.
Yeah.
Sure, I was born in the year of the rooster.
So yeah, before we get into the animated movie, let's talk about the remake. The remake's about in 2 months from now. I'm definitely looking forward to it. The trailers that's been coming out, It's excited me, and I like the fact that they're doing something different. It looks more like a traditional kung fu movie, which I like because I like kung fu movies. And it was the perfect use of the song "Reflection" in the trailer.
Yes, I like the way that they're doing Reflection in the remake trailer with the kind of, it's very slow, it's very orchestral, but you can tell there's a lot of traditional Chinese instruments being used.
Yep.
I really love that. They're not harping on it much as a musical, so I do wonder what they're going to do with the music.
It will, from what I've been told, it will not be a musical, but the familiar songs from the movie will be incorporated into the score.
That's a shame because this does have two of my favorite Disney songs. This movie, so
Yeah.
it will be sad to just hear them as instrumentals.
I mean, I'm wondering how they're gonna mix "A Girl Was Fighting For" into this thing, but we'll figure that out when we get there. David Zippel returns for this movie, but now co-writing with Matthew Wilder, which for our generation is famous for the song "Break My Stride." Ain't no one gonna break my stride. Ain't no one gonna hold me down.
Oh no.
Oh no, gotta keep on moving.
Yes.
Which I did not notice till I went back and actually went through the music for this movie. If my thing will open up so I can see who did the score, because I know it was different. It was another one of those situations where we're doing the score is done by someone different than the music. Jerry Goldsmith does the score for this movie. Is there anything else we can talk about the music?
No. The interesting thing about the music is when it got around to Oscar time, this one, the Reflection was up for an award, but it lost to The Prayer from Quest for Camelot, which is interesting because The Prayer is the better remembered song of the two between Reflection and The Prayer. The Prayer is better remembered by more people, I think. You hear it a lot. It is especially a thing that people sing on talent competitions constantly. Please pick another song. I'm just going to beg people, if you're going on a talent show, pick another song. It's a good song, but the interesting thing is that people remember Mulan as a better movie, and they forget that The Prayer came from Quest for Camelot, which is a movie almost no one remembers, I think. So it's kind of fascinating that that's what it was up against and what it ultimately lost to.
So we talked about Susan Egan last week, who, again, as I was saying last time, one of the rare instances of someone playing two Disney heroines. Lea Salonga returns in this movie to be the singing voice of Mulan. She was also the singing voice of Princess Jasmine. So again, an instance of an actor playing two Disney heroines. And it made sense in here because she is Filipino, and they actually made an effort to get a mostly Asian cast for this movie. Not all of them were Chinese, but the sentiment was there.
Yeah, and there is a great dearth of roles for Asian actors in Hollywood in general.
Mm-hmm.
And they tend to be incredibly typecast. So a lot of these actors are people you know, and they are kind of playing against type, many of them, which is fascinating to me, kind of who they cast in what part.
Yeah, that's the great Asian actor Harvey Feinstein.
Well, yes. Not all of them are Asian, of course.
I had to make the joke there.
But
I love Harvey Feinstein, though. Great actor.
yeah. But
Perfect
you
for
know,
the role they had him in here.
you do have a lot of the most famous actors who were either working at the time or still working now, of course, you had Pat Morita, who of course has since passed, better known as Mr. Miyagi, as the Emperor. You had George Takei
Yeah.
as the primary ancestor there, leading the Council of Ancestors. You have B.D. Wong as Li Shang, the captain, and that's kind of playing slightly against type in some respect, I would say. You've got Getty Watanabe as Ling. Who else is in this?
Ming Na Wen.
Yeah, Ming Na Wen, of course. I was leading up to her.
Melinda May herself.
Yeah, Ming Na Wen, who was, I'm not going to say she was unknown, of course, but she was slightly less known to the general public, I think. Yes, but she was not kind of the big force that she is now. No, I mean, Ming Na Wen has gotten to the point that her name can kind of sell a thing at this point. Yeah. It was still kind of, Mulan was one of her kind of big breakouts, I guess I would call it. Like, not necessarily, of course, her first thing, but I think it was how I learned who she was.
In a way, this kind of was a comeback for Donny Osmond in this movie.
Yeah, this is one of those, we've talked about it before, where, like, if I could go back in time and be a fly on the wall of a casting room, picking Donny Osmond for singing the, big song about being a manly man is one of those strange choices that yet somehow works.
He's a little bit rock and roll after all.
Yeah. Fortunately, he left a little bit country behind for this one. I have honestly the utmost respect for Donny Osmond. If you want to talk about one of the hardest working people in all of showbiz, Donny Osmond counts.
Still working too.
Still working. He did he was in the first season of The Masked Singer, came in second place. He was the first one I pegged because his voice and his style is very distinct, the way he moves his body and stuff. So I knew that was him from the second he opened his mouth. But he did that show, and to keep up the mystery of the show, he flew back and forth between LA and Las Vegas, or maybe he drove. But anyway, he traveled back and forth between LA and Las Vegas to do his normal nightly Vegas show the entire time he was on The Masked Singer. So he was performing two shows at once. Donny Osmond is a workhorse of a performer.
This was his kind of his comeback, because he got a lot of attention. Now, he ended up getting the Donnie Marie talk show out of all of this.
Absolutely. The Osmonds as a thing had kind of faded and become one of those, like, I don't know if they were literally in Branson at the time, but they were one of those kind of, ooh, they've gone to Branson kind of acts for a while. And him landing the big, show-stopping number in this movie was a big coup for his career and really brought him back into the public consciousness again.
Yeah, and let's thinking of kind of a comeback. The 80s had been was also Eddie Murphy in this movie.
Yeah, this was I'm not sure if this was his first foray into animation, but this was kind of the big, they wanted him to be Robin Williams in this. I mean, it was very obvious at the time.
And a few years later, he went in doing Shrek, and wow, that was when the comeback really went into full swing.
Yeah, and honestly, with as big of a cultural phenomenon as Shrek became and still is in many ways, I dare you to watch this movie. When I did the rewatch, I was like, oh man, I can only see Donkey in my brain. I don't care if I'm staring straight at the Mushu animation. All I'm seeing is Donkey. So it's very weird to go back and watch this post Shrek.
Proto-Donkey.
because all you can do is expect like Mushu to just be like, "Let's go back to the tent, and I'm making waffles." Like that's all you can hear. At least it was all I could hear.
There is kind of a scene like that too.
Yeah, and there is a scene where he's like making food. Yeah, so
So, is that all we can really talk about but before going into the movie?
well, no. Since we're on voice actors, there are a couple of important voice actors who are here because of their history of voice acting and not necessarily part of the Asian cast, that they kind of fill out some of the things. You've already mentioned Harvey Fierstein as Yao,
Frank Welker as Quickie.
and as Khan.
Yes, as Khan the horse.
So
The legendary June Foray as Grandma Fa.
Yeah, you would know her best as Rocket J. Squirrel from Rocky and Bullwinkle. Probably.
Magic of the Spell from
Magic
DuckTales.
of the Spell from DuckTales. She was, oh my goodness, like every female voice for
Granny and Looney Tunes.
Granny and Looney Tunes.
She was the female Mel Blanc. If you needed a female voice actor, you called June.
You could honestly cast a 20-person animated show using just Mel Blanc and June Foray back in the day.
Yep.
Yeah, that was exactly. But the more interesting thing is that the voice of Grandmother Fa is provided by Marnie Nixon. For those of you who don't know the story of Marnie Nixon, she is the singing voice that was the go-to replacement for all of the Hollywood stars for most of classic Hollywood. She was Audrey Hepburn's voice for My Fair Lady. She was Deborah Kerr's voice in The King and I. She was Natalie Wood's voice in West Side Story. She was the ghost singer to end all ghost singers, basically. And she only died a few years ago, and she was working, in there pretty heavily. But many of the classic Hollywood musicals, the big sweeping musicals, had a lot of voice replacement done by Marnie Nixon, and she could match almost anybody's tone. So to have someone like June Foray, and then to have Marnie Nixon come in and do a singing impression of June Foray, and honestly, it's basically seamless in the film, is just a testament to kind of both women and their ability to kind of blend into things and do what was needed.
If June was like 10 years younger when this movie was made, she probably would have done the singing herself.
Yes, June Foray was quite advanced in years when they made this, and her singing voice was not what it used to be. So they brought in Marnie Nixon, who was, strangely, also advanced in years, but retained her singing voice farther into her career and into old age than June did. The other one is that we're going to have to talk about is one of the kind of fill-in voices for this was Mary Kay Bergman, who has also unfortunately since passed. You probably know her best as Mrs. Cartman from South Park, the original Mrs. Cartman.
She also did. She pretty much did all the female voices on South Park during those first few years.
Yeah, she was absolutely.
Kyle's mom, everybody.
Yeah.
And we'll talk more about South Park when we talk about Tarzan.
Not Mrs. Cartman. I think they had somebody else for Mrs. Cartman. I meant Kyle's mom. Have I mentioned I had a long weekend? I apologize. Any mistakes you hear are totally on exhausted brain. I promise you. Okay.
Like I said, we'll talk more about South Park when we talk about Tarzan.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. Anyway, this voice cast is a dream, and as much as I hate stunt casting, they kind of, with the exception of Eddie Murphy, I feel, they kind of dodged that bullet because they really went out and found appropriate actors for the roles, I feel. That they really cast this one more on talent rather than name recognition for a lot of these.
in a way, we're talking similar to Pocahontas. They were really trying to get the right people for this, but also the right race. They had Native American actors for Pocahontas getting Asian actors for Mulan, which they didn't have to, but the fact that they made that effort, that's a good sentiment, at least to me.
Yeah, no, I approve of that because so many of these actors I love anyway, and they kind of tend to it's getting better now, of course, but especially at the time, they were very much, so many of them were kind of bit part actors in a lot of things, and not as many kind of juicy parts and starring roles. So I really thought that it was interesting to hear so many of them getting such good material to work with in this one.
There is one we do need to talk about. We don't usually talk about the foreign language version of these movies because we are both native English speakers, but the Cantonese Chinese version of this movie had Jackie Chan as the voice of Shang. Not only the speaking voice, but the singing voice as well. Go on YouTube and you can hear Jackie Chan singing "Make a Man Out of You."
And it's incredible. Even if you don't speak Cantonese, you feel every beat of that song. He is singing his heart out, and it is awesome.
So yeah, I mean, it hurts that they did not, or they could not, or for some other reason, didn't bring Jackie Chan in for the remake. Because if he would have played Mulan's father, that would have been awesome.
Yeah.
That would have been my dream, is Jackie Chan as Mulan's father, Ming-Na Wen as Mulan's mother.
You know what I'm going to say, though, is that despite the fact that Jackie Chan is probably age appropriate to the role now, nobody's really going to believe Jackie Chan as a man who can't fight in the war.
Have him be the Emperor.
Yeah, the Emperor would have been cool. But then again, you kind of come into that, like, why didn't the Emperor just beat up the Huns himself?
Fine. We'll make him General Lee. He can be General Lee, and then he can die. Spoilers.
Although, that would be cool, honestly. But, yeah, so, I mean, casting Pat Morita as the Emperor of China, but then again, you're not seeing him physically, so you don't have that, like, idea that, like, no, it's Mr. Miyagi, he's gonna, like, go out there and teach them all how to take out the,
And of course, Jackie Chan would play Mr. Miyagi in the remake of The Karate Kid.
Absolutely. So there we go. That would have been perfect. It would have been perfect. They should have cast him as the Emperor. You're right.
All right, so are we ready to go into the movie proper?
Absolutely.
Classic Disney logo, but that's only because the score starts during the logo. We've already established this at this point. Yeah. So we open with the Great Wall of China. The Huns, led by Shan Yu, played by Miguel Ferrer, thank you. They breach the wall, and the soldier standing guard lights a fire signal warning everyone of the invasion, which is exactly what he wanted before he likely kills him.
Yes.
We go to the Emperor, played by Pat Morita, and his aide, Chifu, played by James Hong. Yeah, the fact that James Hong is kind of doing a stereotypical exit with this one. Anyway.
Yeah, but honestly, that was the voice James Hong was kind of known for.
Yeah.
I mean, he did that voice for most of his roles. I don't know if that was his normal voice or if he got used to putting it on, because that's what was expected of him. I'm not gonna, guess either way there, but that is kind of a typical James Hong voice.
Yeah, so the Emperor, Chifu, they are offered protection by the Imperial Army General Li, played by James Shigeta, but the Emperor refuses, saying protecting the people is more important and calls for all army reserves to join and as many recruits as possible, trying to have more numbers than the Huns. And we find here that the Emperor talks a lot in metaphors. One single grain of rice can tip the scale.
Yeah, he is very much a kind of, I don't want to say stereotypical, but he does have that kind of stereotypical Buddhist monk kind of feel to his talk.
Yeah. So we go to the small village where we meet Fa Mulan, played by Ming-Na Wen. singing voice by Leia Salonga, because we talked that. Writing notes on her arm as the rooster crows, Mulan runs out to start her chores, and we meet her little brother, her dog, played by Chris Sanders. And I gotta pause here because in the original story of Mulan, she does have a younger brother, and they turn her younger brother into a dog.
Yeah.
And
I mean, oh well, you win some, you lose some, I guess.
win some, you lose some. And the fact that Mulan's puppy talking to the little brother, who's the smart little boy?
Yeah, that is very much me with my dog.
Yeah. And we meet her horse, Khan, played by the amazing Frank Welker. We meet Mulan's father, Fa Shu. Soon Teko plays him, praying to the ancestors to help Mulan impress the matchmaker. Who is the matchmaker? We'll find out soon. And it's like, and we've also find out Mulan's kind of a klutz in a way. And it's like, which is, again, a major difference from the original story, as the original story had Mulan as an expert fighter, because, again, her father was in the military. And with no adult male children, he had to pass it on to somebody. So this is a lot of people were angry about that change, that Mulan was no longer the skilled warrior that the original poem stated her as, and was this clumsy girl.
Yeah. I think it's mostly because they changed her father's motivations. In this a bit, which is that everyone, including her father and mother, are really into the societal idea of women are useless beyond the homemaking aspect and the birthing children aspect. So they gave her father that too, which, why would you bother teaching your great skill to someone who will never be able to use it, I think was their idea. And I think it works well in this movie, but I can understand that if you grew up with this legend, you would have a different opinion on that. We did not grow up with this legend. This was our first introduction to the story. It would be like
changing the story of Cinderella.
Yeah.
Cinderella didn't really want to go to the ball. She hated the dancing and all that, and that would be kind of a, oh, how dare you change that kind of deal.
So I can understand that, even though I didn't particularly have a problem with it.
Yeah. So let's go to town, where we meet Mulan's mother, Fa Li. Freda Fo Shen plays that role. She wonders where her daughter is and wishes she prayed for luck. Enter one of the best characters in this movie, Mulan's grandmother, played by June Foray, who has the lucky cricket Quickie, which we don't know Quickie's name till halfway through the movie, and I don't even think that's his own name, just the name that Mushu gives him.
Yeah, at first I was doing it, and when I was doing my rewatch, I was like, I don't remember the name of this cricket, and then later Mushu says something about like, come on, Cricky, or whatever, and I thought it was just like a nickname, and then the closed captions started referring to the character as Cricky, and I was like, oh, I guess that's just the name.
And of course, Cricky played by Frank Welker. That's all the Frank Welker we're getting in this movie. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that little brother is actually played by Chris Sanders.
Yeah.
So you would think you would get Frank Welker to play the dog.
Yeah. It's a thing.
So yeah, anyway, Grandma wants to prove how lucky the cricket is, and walks into traffic with her eyes covered and making it out unscathed. This grandma is nuts. Grandma is nuts, and I want to party with her.
Yeah, Grandma seems like she would be great at a party. Like, get that woman a little tipsy, and you'd have a good time.
Watch how lucky this cricket is, guys.
Yeah. The interesting thing though is that you're led to believe at the end of it, like, okay, maybe the cricket is lucky and just doesn't know it, even though the cricket, Cricky is terrified, and passes out in the cage at the end of that. But I'm thinking, like, that was not lucky for the 10 people cart pileup that she causes in the middle of that road. Like, I guess one person's luck is another person's tragedy, but that it is a very funny scene, and it establishes the grandmother as just kind of not caring anymore.
She's too old to give a damn.
Yes.
I hope when we get to be that age, the age of not giving a damn.
Oh, yeah.
So Mulan arrives dirty because she was charging with her horse. So they rush to get her bathed, and lead us to our first song, "Honor to Us All." Be graceful, be obedient, be beautiful, be a good wife. Blah.
Be silent. The idea that women should never talk is really pervasive in the culture as portrayed in the film. And I'm not saying there's not basis for that. I mean, sexism existed in lots of cultures, and Han Dynasty China was no different.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that this is not a reasonable thing to talk about here, but man, do they really harp on that. Like, why are you talking near men? Why do you speak your mind? Why do you have opinions on things? It's like Gaston as a culture.
Yeah, but again, that was doesn't make it right, but that was the culture. Is be a prim and proper wife. Be just do this. Even Mulan, in an effort to try to save face, try to keep her family happy, even prays that she doesn't mess this up.
Yeah.
So it's like, Mulan may not agree with this lifestyle, but she's going to do her best to live by this lifestyle because that's all she knows.
Yeah. And also, she is the only child in this version. This is
yes.
the only way her family line will continue.
Yes, like we mentioned before, in the original story, she has a younger brother. She also has an older sister. Those two characters are not in this story.
Yeah.
The older sister seems to be in the remake by the trailer.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, they've gone back a lot to the original story, it looks like, including changing the family name.
Yeah, we did skip that. In this movie, she is Fa Mulan. In the original story, she was Hua Mulan.
Well,
translation.
In the original story, she was. There are so many different legends. It's one of those things that there are so many versions of the Mulan legend that were told at the time and later periods, of course, that so many of them give her family name as various things. It seems that most scholars today and most translations today have decided that Hua is probably the family name that should be used. Then again, Mulan almost certainly wasn't a real person. We really have no reason to believe Mulan was an actual person. It may have been based on some women who found a way to fight in battles around and was kind of a conglomeration maybe, but I don't think there's any actual proof that Mulan was a real person. So there's probably not a real family, out there to find.
Definitely wouldn't have been the first woman to sneak into the male army.
Absolutely not. History is filled with women donning disguises to take the place of either men in their family that they were trying to save, or just because they wanted to go and fight on their own. I mean, they
wanted to serve their country,
Yeah, this is a common story. Women have been trying to fight for their people for as long as there have been women and people. So
let's continue here. The matchmaker, Miriam Margolis plays her, seems to already have it in for Mulan. The minute she sees Mulan, she's like, this is not going to work. And everything that could go wrong does in this little interview she has with the matchmaker. The notes the notes stream off her hand. The tea gets spilled. The matchmaker gets set on fire.
I I spent all this past weekend trying to dodge being set on fire. We had a bonfire at our event, and it was a very angry bonfire that kept spitting embers out. The wood kind of, I think, had a little too much water in it, and it kept spitting out embers. And all of the embers just kept finding me. No matter where I stood or sat around the fire, they would come toward me, and they kept falling on my clothes and trying to set my clothes on fire. So I felt it was funny to watch the movie after coming back from that experience, because I was like, oh yes, I felt the heat from those embers, getting, I think I have a hole in one of my gloves actually now because of that. But yeah, that fire was trying to kill me.
Well, we're glad you're still here.
Yeah.
So anyway, the matchmaker says to Mulan that she will never bring honor to her family because she doesn't know how to be a wife, apparently. Which, it's...
I mean, fair. She doesn't want to be that type of person, so...
True.
I mean, it's not a the idea of and therefore that will dishonor everyone in your life is a bit far from my perspective, but
culture,
Yeah, I understand the culture of the time and that, but here's the thing. Just because a thing was common doesn't mean a thing was right. It is true today, and it was true in history. Just because it's normal doesn't make it ethically right.
Just because it's tradition doesn't make it okay.
Yeah, so I understand where they are coming from with the cultural thing, and that it is, to some extent, historically accurate to the time, as it would have been for most places in the world at the time. Not all cultures had these ideas, but a lot of them. And so that is normal. And there's a history of people who are marginalized in any kind of way. You will always find the rebellious versions of those people. I will say one thing I loved about this scene. My favorite part of this scene is Cricky in the tea like it's a hot tub.
Oh, yeah.
That is my favorite. The animation on Cricky's face and the little, sigh and the contentment and the stretching out in the tea. I love everything about that moment. It is beautiful. Best moment in that whole sequence.
Yeah, but the Cricky just proves that he's not very lucky because of all of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so returning home, Mulan is so embarrassed she can't even face her father because of all of everything that went wrong with the matchmaker. Which leads us to the I Want song of the film, Reflection. And Mulan, she wants to make her family proud, but it involves becoming someone that she's not. To be true to herself would be to dishonor her family, and that is something I think everyone goes through at some point in their life.
Yeah,
Men or women.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, I think that the reason that this is such a great moment in the movie is because I think almost everyone has felt this to some extent throughout their life. When this movie came out, we were getting toward the end of high school.
Yeah.
This would have been either our junior or senior year.
Around there, yeah.
Depending on when and just before our junior year. So, we're already halfway through high school at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But
for the record, we did not go to high school together. We both
we're just the same age, so we would have been doing this at the same time. But I already knew that the things I wanted to do in my life, the way I wanted to live my life, was so wildly different from any part of my family. I am very, very different in temperament, in worldview, in all of the things that are important to me. I have almost no commonality with my blood relatives, which is a thing that happens. I mean, it happens to some people and all, but most people especially when you're in your kind of later teenage years. Um, there is the idea that you got to find out who you are. You've been told who you should be by your family, and now you need to figure out who you are. And in the case of Mulan, who her society and who her family is demanding she be, the only path they've laid out for her, is of course completely unacceptable and would only lead to her misery.
Yeah. Even in the lyrics, she's
Yeah.
expected to be the perfect bride and the perfect daughter, and that's not. Maybe she doesn't want to get married. We don't know. We don't find the answer to that question in this film. But to be that kind of a daughter is not something that she wants to be. And that's this whole point of this song. What kind of makeup is Mulan wearing that one swipe of her sleeve can remove it? What kind of makeup remover does this girl have?
Yeah, the cloth of her sleeve must be made out of makeup remover. That is
that's
probably the shot. Yeah. The Mulan with half of her face with makeup and half not, singing into the reflection, is probably the shot of this movie.
That or the sword. That or looking into the sword.
Yeah, that or looking into the sword, I think. But I think this one is probably the one everybody remembers a little bit better. This song hit me like a freight train in the theater. Like, I was crying.
And Lea Salonga kills it with this.
Oh, Lea Salonga has always been the best. And when she is at the top of her game, as she is in this movie, her emotional depth in a song is unparalleled, in my opinion. In Miss Saigon, some of those songs in Miss Saigon that she did when, they were starting that was just amazing. I have seen her portray both Epony and Fantine in Les Mis, and both of those are such deeply tragic characters, and she plays them both just perfectly. In some ways, A Whole New World was kind of not her wheelhouse. In some ways, like she's excellent and she delivers the song, but there's not a super amount of emotion in there. It's a traditional kind of like, oh, this is a fun date pop song, love song. But this right here is like your traditional Broadway show-stopping ballad. So I think that if you really want to hear the true talent of her in relation to Disney, at least, that this is the song you should go for. And I watched her on YouTube. You can watch a masterclass she gave on singing and performing, and she performs this song. It was recorded a few years ago, and boy, does she still have it. It still sends chills down your spine for this. So
it's one of those things of some of these actors that 20, 30 years later they can still sound like teenagers. Her and Jodie Benson.
Yeah, but honestly, she doesn't. I wouldn't even say she sounds like a teenager in here. Ming-Na Wen has a more youthful voice for Mulan in the speaking, but I don't think Lea Salonga was really trying to sound particularly young in this. But it comes off as just beautiful. I love everything about this song and this sequence. This is probably the crown jewel of the writer's career. We talked about it with Hercules. It's like, maybe not the greatest, but this is absolutely a song you could hang your hat on.
So after the song, and it's a beautiful song, Mulan's father actually does try to comfort her daughter, calling her a late bloomer. with the blooms on the tree. And the late bloomer will be the most beautiful of them all, and it does bring a smile to her face. He is being a father in that scene. He does love his daughter, and he's trying to, in a way, accept his daughter for being the way she is. In a way, the best way he can, I guess. At least at this point in the movie.
Yeah.
But our father-daughter moment is interrupted by the arrival of Chifu and the soldiers. One man from each family must join the army to fight the Huns. As Mulan's father is the only male in the family, he must go, despite him having to walk with a cane, despite the fact that he barely can stand without it. He has to. There is no other choice. And Mulan protests this. My father already served in the army. He's old. He should not have to go. Which is logic, but this is also a draft.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is that, we would think now, of course, a draft would overlook that.
Yeah.
But, of course, the way warfare was at the time, sometimes you just threw bodies at it in a war of attrition sort of way.
Well,
They hoped it would do something.
They say it early in the movie. They want to have more numbers.
So
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if they can fight or not. They just need to have more of us than there are of them.
Yeah, and today, of course, we would call this cannon fodder.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I think Mulan doesn't quite understand when she tries to use logic on this, is that the army in this movie does not care. They do not care if they are trained soldiers. They care that they are bodies. So,
yeah, and that's not even in the film. They don't really press that.
Yeah, of course not.
It's one thing that you kind of have to, as an older adult, kind of have to put the pieces together from what is being said in the film, the bigger picture. And Chifu actually dismisses Mulan because she's a woman, and that kind of how he is. She's a woman. Her opinion doesn't matter. Dismissed. And even Mulan's father kind of gets his pride hurt because his daughter is standing up for him. You dishonor me,
Yeah.
which I can understand from that point. As a proud soldier, he is proud to fight for his country. To have anyone, even his daughter, saying no, he should not have to fight, that hurts his pride.
Yeah. The interesting thing is it looks like they're going to get into it a bit more in the live action version, because there is a scene in the trailer where basically her mother sits down and is like, yeah, you need to say goodbye to your father because he's going to be dead soon.
Yeah, he's not coming home.
Yeah, he's not coming home from this one. So it seems like they're treating it a little more seriously. In this, let's go ahead and skip to the next scene. You want to describe it?
Mulan's father, he is a soldier, but again, he is disabled. He cannot walk on one leg. One of his legs is not as good as it used to be. But he opens the cabinet. He sees his old armor. He pulls out his old sword. He tries a couple of his sword tricks, and for the little bit, it starts to work. You can kind of see he still has that flow. But the brain is willing, but the body is weak, and he collapses. Maybe I'm misremembering. He kind of almost clutches his chest too.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell it takes a lot out of him, and it seems like this. I mean, in this movie, this scene is all we get to make sure you understand that this man is marked for death. Yeah. If he steps out on a battlefield, he will die almost instantly. And I think that they're going to make that more explicit. The interesting thing is that the live action version of this seems slightly more adult in many ways from the way that the trailer is going. Mm-hmm. It seems like it's going to be a little more battle focused, mm-hmm. and a little more direct in saying, Because honestly, I don't think that the live-action remake is for kids. I think they are making it for people like us. People who remember this movie from childhood and want that nostalgia hit. And, more power to them if they do.
Dinner is silent. Like, they are eating inside. They know what's going to happen, and no one wants to say anything. Until Mulan protests again. And her father is fully ready to do what needs to be done. He will serve his country with honor. He will protect his family with honor. He will die protecting his country, die protecting his family, and he has accepted this. He has accepted that if he will go into battle, he will die. Mulan has not, and will not. And then we get, in a way it's cold, but I can understand where he's coming from. I know my place, it's time you knew yours. I definitely put, that. It is very cold the way he says it. I know my role in this world. You need to know your role in this world. And it is almost throwing the entire father-daughter moment we had just a few minutes ago right out the window.
Yeah. Here's the thing that I think comes up with this. Is that Mulan here keeps trying to use logic and empathy, okay? Which I think is a typical tactic of a lot of people when they're younger. You want the world to make sense. You want the world to be a kind place. But a lot of people, as they get older, and I think Mulan's parents both kind of suffer from this, is that a lot of people lose that hope. They just relegate themselves to the fact that the world doesn't make sense and it's not always kind. And instead of saying, no, this needs to be changed, they just kind of shrug and go, no.
This is the world.
This is the world. And so we see the 2 points here is that Mulan is very much the world sucks and I need to change it. And her father is very much the world sucks and you just need to keep your head down and hope it doesn't stomp you too bad. Yeah. And of course we don't know what was in his past to make him this way. But the problem is that if that is the way you are, then nothing ever changes. If you want the good life for your daughter, then maybe you gotta make it a better life. And I think that too many people, and it's as true today as it was then, of course, is that you see these things and then you just go like, shrug.
Yeah.
And you focus on yourself, yeah. And all it doesn't make your life better. I'm going to tell you that now. It doesn't make your life better to ignore things and move on. All it does is make the world worse, or at least equally as bad if you're lucky, but in general worse for the people who come after you.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing is, Mulan is saying, no, it should be this way. Let's make it this way. And her father is saying, no, I've accepted defeat. And maybe you need to accept defeat too. And I think all of China is eventually glad that Mulan does not accept defeat.
Yeah. So, but Mulan runs off because she does not want to deal with this anymore because she does not want to stand by while her father is going to walk off to his own death. So she makes that decision. We see her crying in the rain by the ancestor temple, and it's like she makes that decision. She is going to she's going to make sure her father doesn't die. So she goes to her father's cabinet, sees her father's armor, takes the sword, and again the shot of Mulan seeing her reflection in the sword, it's so synonymous with this film That's what they're basing the advertising on. If you see like a movie poster, it's Mulan's with the reflection in the sword. And she cuts her hair short. One clean slice. That's a sharp sword. To cut her hair that short in one slice. Ties it up, takes her father's armor, takes her horse, and she is off to join the army in the middle of the night.
Yeah, what I find interesting is that, and this is just me being silly, of course, but her her cutting of her hair is kind of hilarious to me because, of course, by modern standards, at least modern and Western American standards, she doesn't really cut that much hair off. It's like a trim rather than like really kind of. So I love the idea that the difference between, girl and boy in that culture was my hair is about 3 inches shorter, but I still put it up in a very similar hairstyle. Because to be honest, the kind of top knot bun thing that she wears for most of the movie is also a style we see her wearing at the beginning of the movie, more or less. I know there are subtle differences, but in the kind of animation, it kind of comes across that way. Mm-hmm. It looks like she's probably not going to cut her hair at all in the live action movie, because there is a shot in the trailer where she lets down her hair and it is long and flowing.
From what I've been able to find, it is that it's some sort of honor thing to not cut one's hair. So I guess we're going with the story of Mulan, just never, the male Mulan or whatever male name she's going to go by in this film, has never cut her hair in their entire life.
Yeah, it looks like she's going to go for Hua Jin in the movie instead of Hua Ping in this one.
All right, so Grandma for some reason, Grandma wakes up first and notices Mulan's gone. And then she tells Mulan's mother and father, Mulan's gone. Earlier in the film, they get the scroll, your enrollment papers, I guess. And she leaves behind this comb of hers that she had in her hair from the whole movie. And Mulan's mother said, you have to go after her. You have to bring her home. But Mulan's father pretty much says, if I expose who she is, she will be killed. Because that's treason.
Yeah.
So he has no choice but to let Mulan join the military, have this facade as a man, because otherwise he might as well kill her himself. So Grandma prays for Mulan's protection, knowing this, awakening the first ancestor, played by George Takei. Yeah, the character's official name is the first ancestor. We don't know if he's the first of the bloodline, but that is what they're calling him in the film.
Yeah.
Who in turn awakens Mushu the dragon, Eddie Murphy. Mushu is a demoted family guardian whose job he says is to ring the gong and awaken the other ancestors. That's his job. And
he's an alarm clock.
Yeah, pretty much. And
did they ever make a Mushu alarm clock? They really should have. That would be a great thing. I want just a really annoyed Mushu alarm clock. So everyone,
hey, get up!
Just wake up to all right, I'll ring the gong. Yeah, I'm gonna ring the gong.
Yeah, and give it to Mushu is that when he awakens, he thinks he's ready for a job. He is going to do his job. He's going to protect the family. But it's no. You're demoted. This is not your job anymore. You screwed up, and now you have to wake everybody else up. And, we see all the other ancestors awaken, and they're all arguing about Mulan. They already know. They did not have to be told. Apparently, the afterlife, you already know what's going on. And they send a guardian. They need to send a guardian to bring Mulan home. Of course, Mushu nominates himself. Hey, I'm the guardian. I'll do it. And then we find out why he was demoted. as one of the ancestors has been beheaded. That with the Motor Guardian, I would just say.
Yeah. I mean, kind of interesting for us to see a beheaded figure in a Disney movie.
Completely
But-
headless Nick.
Yeah, completely headless Nick. There's a Chinese name for you. Who's that? That's Uncle Nick. Yeah. But yeah, I love the ancestors. The ancestors talking and fighting among themselves.
It's your typical family reunion.
Yeah, and when Mushu says, one family reunion coming up, and then you're like, oh no, not the family reunion. Please no.
So yeah, they're all arguing. Oh, she gets it from your side of the family. She gets it your side of the family. Blah blah blah. Yeah, at least my granddaughter isn't a cross-dresser. And it's like, wow, you really went there.
Yeah. Once again, different time, still not cool.
I mean, we get what the point of this scene is. It's wasn't right then, wasn't right now. The verbiage used, but it's getting the message that they do not approve of what Mulan is doing. That was the entire point of all of this.
They could have also gone with well, at least my granddaughter isn't committing treason. That's also a perfectly fine insult to throw, and it is technically true. But I mean, the thing is that also, there's a history to the term crossdresser, and it's been one of those things that some people have tried to claim it proudly, some people want to shy away from it. We have other terms now. I'm sure that, of course, this scene probably will not be in the live-action remake.
I don't think we're going to see the much of the ancestors in the remake.
Yeah, but also these kind of jokes. I don't think these kind of jokes, as a rule, will appear, because there are several in the movie.
Yeah,
that kind of took me by surprise. But hopefully, they will kind of shy away from that as a point of comedy. I mean, it can be a point of danger. It can be a point of break with tradition. It can be a point of, strangeness that people don't know how to deal with because it's unusual in their daily lives.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, hopefully, we as a society, should probably be over, gender non-conforming dress as, a point of comedy, I don't know.
We will see when the remake comes out.
Yeah, I'm hoping Disney has learned its lesson from some recent things.
We'll see. Anyway, the ancestors choose the Great Stone Dragon to be the guardian that will bring Mulan home, and Mushu goes to wake it and accidentally destroys it.
Which is straight up dragon murder.
Yes.
Because all these other things are kind of, Mushu is, metal?
Yeah.
Before being awakened and stuff. So we know that had he successfully woken the stone dragon, it would have just been a dragon.
Yeah.
So, dude, seriously.
Poor Stony.
What? Yeah, poor Stony.
R.I.P. Stony.
The dead dragon. Yeah.
And he wears Stony's head to kind of convince the ancestors that, oh yeah, I'm awakened and I'm going to go do the thing. It's like, dude, you're wearing his head.
Yeah, that is super morbid.
So Mushu kind of doesn't have a choice here. He has to go and get Mulan because he killed Stony.
Yeah.
And there's Quickie there. Yeah, he's a murderer.
That's 2 deaths and beheadings, honestly, that Mushu is responsible for.
Yeah.
Since we got the one beheaded ancestor, and then now we have Stony, who has been beheaded. What is up with you, Mushu? You are a menace. You should not be allowed to be guardian of anything. Guardian of a guillotine.
Oh. So Quickie convinces Mushu to go get Mulan. Hey, we don't Quickie doesn't speak words. He speaks cricket. Whatever. He speaks Frank Welker noise.
Yeah.
And Mushu.
Honestly, I'm gonna ask this question: do we ever definitively get a gender for Cricky?
I don't think so.
I don't remember them ever using any gendered pronouns for Cricky.
I think Mushu may have called him man or dude, or not dude, but man at least one point, but we don't know.
Yeah, and that of course could be the kind of way that a lot of people use it, where they think that like, oh, it's just gender neutral. You just say man or dude and that's gender neutral. So I don't know if that was intended to be that, like,
It was the 90s.
Cricky is and honestly at the time I used dude for any gender I came across. It was just a thing I said. And same for man, honestly. I mean, that was just the way the 90s sounded, I think.
Yeah.
For most of us. So I could totally believe that was just, because I think he does say the same thing around Mulan, even when she's not, wearing men's clothing and stuff. So, but I sat there wondering throughout the film, like, do we know if this is a boy or a girl cricket? And I am not sure the movie ever definitively says. At least if it does, I do not remember it. It was so subtle that I do not remember it. And honestly, I think that's cool. I think, like, not knowing what Cricky is kind of is cool.
It's not important to the story.
Well, yeah, I mean, that too, but everything else gets gendered. Yeah. So, kind of having a non-gendered character is interesting to me, even if it was an oversight.
Okay. So anyway, Mushu has this great plan to make Mulan a war hero and get back into the ancestors' good graces. Not a good plan. Let's be honest. Straight up, not a good plan. But Mushu is doing this to get his spot back. So he's going to do it anyway. And Quickie tags along. It's just because Quickie says he's lucky. And even Mushu's kind of like, you're not lucky. He's even dismissing the luck aspect of that. But he's tagging along anyway. They're going to go with this plan of making Mulan a war hero.
In my head, the next thing Cricky said would have probably been like, well, earlier this old woman tried to kill me by walking me into a traffic and I didn't die. So I must either I'm lucky or the grandma's lucky, but one of us.
Well, let's see. I made sure the grandma stayed alive walking through traffic. You just killed the dragon.
Yeah, which one of us is luckier, huh?
So the Han army rides through China. They find 2 Imperial scouts. Shan Yu says that the Great Wall challenged his strength, and he accepts the challenge. And he lets them go to tell the Emperor to bring his strongest men to face his army. How many men does it take to send a message? 1. Coldest. That's a cold villain line right there.
Yeah.
You don't see the death happening, but you know that the death happened.
Oh yeah. We do not really see the end of that, but yeah, and I love the way that line is delivered on both parts.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say that, like, Miguel Ferrer is absolutely brilliant in this. Mm-hmm. His voice is just amazing. So yeah, we didn't really talk about Miguel Ferrer's background, but I mean, you know him from RoboCop. Yeah. He was in Iron Man 3. He does a voice on Jackie Chan Adventures, if you ever watched that cartoon. Yeah, it's another Jackie Chan connection. But he is always kind of the hey, it's that guy, for so long there, anyway, he was kind of the go-to evil villain dude for a long time. So yeah, I love everything about his portrayal in this. Shan Yu is a excellent Disney villain.
Yeah.
Not as iconic, of
No.
course, as some of the other ones, because he's not as flamboyant, I guess.
He's
in
very
his
one-dimensional.
He is incredibly one-dimensional. We really don't know too much about his motivations.
He is a classic, as in Walt era Disney villain, in that I'm evil and I'm going to do evil things.
Yes, this is very much a throwback to classic era Disney, which I think is why I like it so much. Don't get me wrong, I love a multi-dimensional villain, but sometimes you just want to be like, that dude's evil, and that's all the explanation we get.
Yeah.
And honestly, Miguel Ferrer was like the perfect choice for that.
So yeah, let's get back to Mulan as she tries to act like a man. I see you have a sword. I have a sword too, and it's not going well. Her attempts to act like a man isn't going anywhere. Isn't going well, and like Khan the horse is just laughing about this, and it's like she's trying. She's doing everything she can to try to act like a dude, and it's just not working. And then Mushu reveals himself,
Yeah.
and it's probably one of the most Eddie Murphy-est parts of this movie. Let me hear you say, good enough.
Yeah, this is absolutely they told Eddie Murphy for this recording, I think, like, just act like you just walked out on stage.
Yeah.
Because this is very much like hype man at the beginning of a comedy show kind of opening here.
I love the way they had the shadow on him, and like they do make the shadow have like see-through eyes and all that, but that's just artistic license and all that.
Well, and honestly, it's in a lot of ways it looks like Chinese shadow puppetry.
Yes,
Yeah, the kind of cutout paper shadow puppetry. Speaking of puppetry, I love that then Cricky shows up in the bottom doing like hand shadow puppetry of a dragon in the bottom. It's just a good little character moment that Cricky is not taking this as seriously as Mushu is trying to.
Mushu's trying to make himself look important, and it just doesn't. For the first part, it does until he reveals himself to be a very tiny dragon. He says the ancestors sent him, and to help Mulan convince everyone she's a man, to make her, this great warrior. And it's like, my ancestors sent this little lizard. I'm a dragon. It's Eddie Murphy at his most Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Calls the horse a cow. This is where we get the dishonor thing from.
Yeah. Which is, there are 2 Eddie Murphy jokes from this movie that have survived over the years.
Yeah.
One of which is now, and one of which comes later.
Yeah.
The first one, of course, is the dishonor on your cow.
Yeah.
Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow.
But we need to get to that point.
Yeah, that's the big joke.
No one really remembers what happens before that scene, and we're going to go through it right now. One of those moments that has not aged, in that Mushu says his eyes can see through her armor while looking at her chest.
Yeah.
Mulan,
I know it's just a bluff, but dude, not cool.
And she immediately covers her chest and smacks him, and Mushu deserved that.
Oh yeah, totally.
And then he goes, how dare you smack me, dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow. That is where the line comes from. So, like, Mushu, not cool. And it's like, it was... This would not stand in modern... Mushu is not in the remake, but this thing should not be in any version of this movie.
Yeah, and once again, Disney has a really bad habit of trying to shoehorn goofy characters in where goofy characters shouldn't be.
This is one of those adult jokes that really doesn't work. It's a joke for the adults in the audience, but yeah, no, not cool.
Yeah.
Anyway, but she agrees to let Mushu help her because really she doesn't really have much of a choice. She really can't trust anyone else with her identity, and there's really no one else to have trust in to get this facade over. So let's get to the army camp. Mushu tries to get Mulan to walk like a man with, yeah, her man walk is again. It's played for comedy because you have this very young woman trying to act like a big tough guy. Yeah. Anyway, so
Interestingly, there had been talk about just letting Leah Salonga do the speaking voice as well. For Mulan, and that was their initial idea. And when it got to the scenes where she had to kind of deepen her voice and pretend to be a man, she was not able to do that. Leah Salonga has kind of a very high-pitched, feminine, delicate speaking voice in many ways. And her trying to deepen her voice and sound kind of believably young man did not work for the studio. And
if you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Ming-Na Wen does have that deep voice.
And Ming-Na Wen does have a deeper speaking voice, and she did a lot of voiceover in her, like, biggest, probably, stepping stone in her career, Joy Luck Club.
Yeah.
Which was, I was a little too young to kind of get that one at the time, but it was a big cultural phenomenon. And she does an insane amount of voiceover in that one. And somebody at the studio, when they saw that, they realized that she did have a cadence that was a good voiceover, but also deep enough that some of her tones could be believably masculine in the context of the film. So she got the speaking voice.
Mm-hmm. And again, the way she talks when she's May, that very deep, intimidating voice. And again, when she's in other roles, and she, her regular speaking voice is more like Mulan's normal speaking voice than anything else. But it works. And to continue with the story, Mushu tells Mulan to pay attention to the disgusting habits of the various men in camp and act like them, because apparently hygiene isn't masculine.
Yeah, you want to talk about some serious toxic masculinity on display in this movie. Like, no, if you are a man and your goal is to attract a woman, smelling good is an excellent way to start, because you have a tough row to hoe there if you're trying to get in there and you just reek. Personal hygiene is essential just for your own health, but also for attracting a partner if that is your desire.
If this was a modern military, the smell of Axe body spray, man. Scary.
Well, yeah, that too. Maybe don't depend on Axe body spray. It is not a substitute for soap. However, this does, I like this movie, I really do, but some of it kind of trends into, like, can we please leave all the various gender stereotypes at home? And not just for women, of course, but for men as well.
Yeah.
And in that, like, men deserve better than to be called, like, disgusting ogres, to borrow from Eddie Murphy's other big animation role.
Yeah. So we also meet our other main characters in this movie, the main soldiers. We follow Yao, the short, angry one, Harvey Feinstein. Ling, the normal-sized, skinny one, Getty Watanabe, with the singing voice of Matthew Wilder.
Yeah.
He does get to sing in this movie. And Chen Po, the tall, fat one, Jerry Tondo. And Chen Po's a teddy bear. He's very much, as the name implies, he's very much like Po from Kung Fu Panda, in that he's just this big, fat, cuddly guy.
Yeah, and honestly, he also has a different from the Emperor, but also that kind of Buddhist monk feel.
Yes.
He is very much in the Zen school of Buddhist thought, I think, is probably where they were drawing most of this.
Straight away while he's trying to do the breathing exercise with Yao.
Yeah, calm down, breathe in, say the thing. As I said earlier, and you probably noticed if you speak Chinese, because boy did I butcher that New Year's greeting, and I apologize. But dishonor, I brought dishonor on my Chinese teacher. Oh, Liu Yan, I apologize. You were an excellent teacher. I was a poor student. But the a lot of what he says in there is a joke. It's not. I don't think it's most of it is actually even Chinese words. I think there. I was trying hard.
Harvey Firestein is pretty much gibberish.
Yeah. And well, they repeat it. He says, "Say this," and then Yao repeats it. But the thing is I couldn't really catch all of it because the captions did not
Yeah, they don't caption this.
they don't caption the actual thing. They just says like chanting. Yeah. Which I wish they would do. If you work in captions, please don't do that. People with hearing issues deserve to know those jokes as well. So yeah, please don't ever do that. But yeah, I think there are a lot of jokes that probably only come through if you can speak or read Chinese better than I can, but I lost a lot of them.
Yeah, anyway, so Mushu really isn't helping any with Mulan, and Mulan gets into trouble pretty much off the bat as soon as she gets into the camp, and her antics cause a fight to break out among all of the soldiers.
Yeah, honestly, I think Mushu was on a right path. He just took it too far.
Yeah.
Because he says, punch Yao, that's how men say hello. And Mulan does. She punches Yao, and Chen Po immediately goes like, "Oh, you made a friend." So I think that would have worked had they stopped there.
Yeah.
But they keep going, and he keeps like upping, the bar there, and that's I think where it goes wrong.
Yeah. So like the slap on the behind was one step too far.
Yeah.
So let's. Did I skip something here? Yeah, I did. Okay, here we go. So meanwhile, the general, he's going to get his troops, the experienced troops, to protect a village that is in the direct pathway to the emperor, leaving in charge the new recruits to his son, the new captain, Li Shang, B.D. Wong, with the singing voice of Donny Osmond. Chifu isn't on board with this. He doesn't like the fact that the inexperienced soldiers are going to have an inexperienced captain.
Yeah.
And and it's pretty much, in a way, it is nepotism because Shang is the general's son.
Yeah.
But they do say that he was the top of his class in terms of training. So
yeah.
He knows what he's doing. He has the experience to teach these guys the ropes to do the thing. It's just that Chifu wants a more experienced person to be the captain.
Yeah, which is fair, but they've already said that they're at a that they don't have enough soldiers to go around.
They don't.
We don't know the exact state of the army, of course, before the movie, but there may not have been any experienced captains left. They may have already been assigned. All the experienced captains are already, they have spots elsewhere. Here we have a large group of recruits and nobody to lead them. Oh well, at least you have some military training.
Yeah, they needed somebody. And their choice was to promote somebody. Someone needed to be promoted to train these guys. And Shang was the perfect recruit to do so because of his, what they even say, because of his upbringing and because of how skilled he was as a warrior already.
Yeah.
But, but Chief was going to stay behind and report on Shang's skills, how he's training the recruits and how he's acting as a captain, and report back to the general.
Yeah. The interesting thing is I do love the character of Chifu because when he says, I'll be writing everything down, is that this this period in China, and I mean other periods as well, I'm not going to say that, was heavily bureaucratic, and they did in fact write everything down. There are such extensive, mundane, bureaucratic records from China at this time. So I just love the fact that they have this bean counter guy, you know, following around, just marking down everything, because it seems very historically accurate from what I know of China at the time.
Yeah, and Shang is already pumped up that he's gonna make his father proud. He's gonna be a good captain, and as soon as they get out of the tent, sees all of his recruits fighting each other.
And all of the rice all over the ground.
Yeah.
There's a massive amount of food that has just been wasted.
And they all blame it on Mulan. Who started this? He started this. It's like,
And honestly, they are correct.
they are. Technically, Mushu started this, but you can't blame Mushu.
Yeah, they don't know Mushu exists, so.
And now they need to know who is this recruit's name. And the way Ming Na Wen just delivers this line, I have a name, and it's boy's name. It's and Mushu goes through different names, like Ling. Oh, Ling is that guy. I didn't ask for that guy's name. Ask for your name. And they go with eventually getting to the name of Ping. And Ping isn't popular day one at camp.
No.
No.
Not in the slightest.
It's like the first day of school and you just spilled a drink on top of the pretty girl or something, and now everyone hates you. So, yeah, Ping. And that's where we're, that's where we're at. So, next day, the training begins, and Mulan ends up sleeping in. Not a good day for the first day of official training.
Yeah.
Especially with, Mushu, this is where we get the breakfast thing with Mushu making gruel for her and feeding her. But again, even she knows she messes up because, again, she's the last soldier to get in formation. Again, not a good first day. Shang shoots an arrow at the top of a tall wooden pillar and asks the soldier to retrieve it while holding weights in both arms. They all fail. It's, Yao's attempt to use his teeth to climb was a nice, funny moment.
Yeah.
But in real life, he would have lost all his teeth.
Probably.
They all fail. It's going to be a long training session, and this is the big song. The big song everybody knows from this movie. You say that first line, everyone's going to go to the next one. I'll make a man out of you.
Yeah.
Training montage. They all sucked.
Yeah.
Every single one of them sucks. And not only do they suck, but they make Mulan suck even more by purposely messing her up. And granted, from their perspective, here's this dude Ping they already don't like him, so they're just going to make it even worse for him. From the putting the thing in her, scorpion in her back or whatever it was, to make her throw the baton or the staff. There we go. That's the word. Mulan can't lift the food as they're hiking up the mountain. Everyone is just smirking, throwing all the rocks at her. It's like, oh, poor Mulan. And Mulan,
I just want to, we're kind of glossing over the song, and this is honestly the best song in the movie. I really love Reflection, of course.
Yeah.
But I'll Make a Man Out of You is absolutely the song everybody remembers from this movie, like you've already said.
That's kind of like I don't even if you haven't seen this movie, we'll go in more detail with it. Let's get down to business. That first line, if you are with any Disney fan, all you have to do is say that one line, and everyone will say, "To defeat the Huns."
Yeah, it's absolutely. And then of course, also if you say, "Be a man."
Yes,
people will tend
man.
to swift as a coursing river. Yeah, you this is absolutely a huge meme for a lot of there. But the interesting thing is that while I love this song, this is absolutely kind of okay, I'm gonna say it again, whatever, I'm gonna make a lot of people mad. This is kind of Toxic Masculinity, the theme song. It really is, because it's like, it's all about how, men are this one way and no other way. There's only one way to be a man, and this is it. And it's all about strength and fighting and militarism, which is a way to be a man, sure.
Yes.
But, it's not the only way, and it may not even be the best way, but, this is well contrasted with the other songs, which kind of are, there's so much gender politics in this movie, and you can't get around it. That they are trying to say that in this society, there is only one way for you to be, depending on how you were designated at birth.
Yeah.
And maybe, and I like that kind of a lot of the ways that this movie goes with it is kind of showing, like, that's not a great thing for a society to do. So, I don't know. I love this song, but you have to take it in the context of the movie. The movie is at all points in the montage undercutting this song. And I think when people take this song out of the movie, and I'm not talking about like just goofily singing it because it's a catchy song, but there are some people who take this song a little too seriously. And the point of this song, with the accompanied visuals, with the montage, is that who is the best one in the group eventually?
Mulan.
Mulan. It's the one that is definitely not a man, and doesn't identify as a man, has no masculinity, I guess, desire within her. She just wants to be a good fighter. She doesn't want to be a man. She just wants to be a good fighter. She's just forced to pretend to be a man in order to do that.
That is another thing that people get a lot wrong with this movie.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that if that's your view of the movie, fine, but the message of this movie is that she just wants to be a fighter. She doesn't want to be gender, whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. And I have friends, blah, blah, blah. But
Yeah.
It's like, this is straight, that is one thing that a lot of people get wrong.
And
But
you know what? Here is the thing. I approve of anybody getting inspiration from anywhere they can find it.
Yeah.
The world is so lacking in it sometimes. However, I am, kind of academically trained in this sort of thing. And within the context of the film, like just looking at the text of the film, Mulan's desire is not to be a man, and it never is. She just wants a different path in life, and the only way society will let her have that path is by forcing her to hide her true self. And so I think it is absolutely perfectly wonderful if you saw this film as a kid and were struggling with your gender and found inspiration in Mulan. By all means, yes, absolutely.
That's where a lot of people take that from the song Reflection.
Yeah, and that is and Reflection is such a great song because there are so many things about almost anybody, honestly, that society forces you to repress in order to fit in. And that can be minor, silly things, and then, of course, that can be things that are absolutely essential to who you see yourself as. Um, so that is a broad-reaching song, which is why I love it. But I think it's important to remember that Mulan's goal was never to be a man. Mulan's tool that she used was pretending to be a man. And at least, that's my reading of the text as presented in this film. I am open to other interpretations, but that's what I think is upheld by the text itself. So there you go. Academically speaking,
Mulan, well, from the end of the song sequence, she's the one that figures it out. She's the one that figures out how to climb with the weights.
yeah,
That no one else figures out. And she is able to climb that pillar, retrieve the arrow, throw it down at Shang's feet in front of his own tent in the morning.
yeah,
And this is the point where everyone starts to get good. Because Mulan got good, everyone else is getting good. You see, Chin Po is starting to do freaking cartwheels over water.
yeah. And honestly, I love that the solution to the problem was, one, foreshadowed, because when he first gives Yao the weights, he says, you will need both of these to reach the arrow. So it was foreshadowed, but also it was also foreshadowed by number 2, which is showing that Mulan thinks through problems. And we were shown that at the very beginning of the movie. We didn't mention it because it wasn't plot essential, but in that opening when she's going through town, she stops at a game of Go, I believe it is, that they're playing, and makes a move that completely, the 2 players are stumped, 2 men, and she comes up and moves one piece on the board and, changes the game, which shows us already that she's
Intelligent.
a strategist also. That
actually comes up later in the film.
Yeah.
That comes up later in the film.
So I love that this is kind of the second part of that we do see that she has a mind and that her way is not always necessarily brute force, although she is, by the end of this movie, she is pretty strong. I don't know if we would label that as secretly swole, but she is finally at least as strong as some of the men in the troop.
She went to the gym.
Yeah, she went to the gym, but I do like that it shows that she's got a different way of thinking.
A different way to get to the solution.
Yeah. So.
Wah.
Yeah.
Because we gotta do the wah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on, the Han Army. We find out the Han Army, and I'm not sure what kind of bird that the Huns have. It's a falcon? Is it an eagle? Or I never could figure it out.
It looks like either a falcon or a hawk the way they draw it, but it's I guess it's supposed to be a falcon, maybe.
So let's go with falcon. So the falcon brings him this doll from the nearby village, and through the various dirt and hair on the doll, they're able to figure out that the army is in that village, waiting for them. And you think, we have to go around these. They even say we'll go around. We can easily get past them if you go around. But Shin Yu saying, no, we're going to go through, because this is, one, is the most direct path to the Emperor, and 2, they need to send a message. And besides, the little girl is going to want her doll back. And if it was any other character in this story, it would be a very sweet notion. Because it's the villain saying it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get back to Mulan as she is bathing in a nearby lake. She may have to act like a man, but doesn't mean she has to smell like a man.
Yeah. Again, hygiene. It's not girly. Do it.
When Yao Ling and Chin Po show up. Yeah, and Mushu was like, yeah, there's definitely something they're going to notice if they go in their water. Oh, they do as much as they can to not, say certain body parts in this movie. But yeah, it is implied.
Yeah.
And thanks to Mushu's quick thinking, biting Ling in the butt, Mulan is able to get out of there and get out of there before her secret's blown. And it played up for comedy. Mulan says, "I never want to see another naked man ever again," as all of the other soldiers buck naked running into the lake.
Yup.
Yep. That's enough manhood right there to last Mulan the rest of her life.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the only modern comedy you would get in this one would be Mushu having a toothbrush and toothpaste.
Yeah. I think there are some other kind of, things he says vocally that are references, of course. But yeah, the kind of only really modern.
It's not Hercules level here.
Yeah, it's not Hercules level. It's but the toothbrush and toothpaste. And
yeah.
And this is is this the scene where we get the other big line from Mushu?
Which one would that be?
Somebody says, snake, and he says, no, dragon, I don't do the tongue thing.
Oh, yeah.
That was the other joke that was everywhere when this movie came out. Like, you would just walk down the halls in your school and hear people being like, dragon, I don't do the tongue thing.
And he does the tongue thing.
And then he does the tongue thing. But yeah, I've never been able to understand if this was another thing of getting one past the censors. I'm not sure how adult this joke was supposed to come off, but it could be if you want your brain to go there. And I've certainly heard it used that way since. But yeah, so that okay. But those were kind of the two big Eddie Murphy jokes from this movie.
Yeah, so let's move on. Back in the main camp, Chifu doesn't think the troops are ready. Doesn't even say Shang is not fit to be captain, and Shang is defending his troops, and they finished their training. They're ready. Maybe Shang is kind of overselling his team a bit, I would say. But he says they finished basic training. Let them try. And Shifu is just saying, if it was up to me, your troop will never see battle. And I'm going to send my notes to the captain, to the general, saying that you guys are not ready. And Mushu is not going to let this stand, because this kind of throws a monkey wrench into his entire plan of making Mulan a war hero. And Mulan is seeing Shang leave and compliments him as a fine captain. And this is where Mushu is saying, oh, you like him. Yeah, that Mushu is seeing Mulan having a thing for the captain here.
I think it's a little early for that. That line always felt weird to me, because it's like, you can compliment somebody in a friendly way without being like into them.
Yeah, she's not even complimenting his looks in any way. She's just complimenting his skills as a leader. Doesn't mean she's into him. It's just that, she values his leadership.
And he has made her a relatively decent fighter at this point. I mean, they've already, she's already had that training. She knows that she has learned a great deal through his leadership. So I think it's weird. I know that one of their ideas for this movie originally was like a wacky romantic comedy. That, like, Mulan was a tomboy who wanted to do something. I don't even think it had anything to do with the army or going out to save China from a Han invasion. Yeah, it just was like, wacky, goofball, romantic comedy. And I think this is one of the leftover artifacts of that. It's fine to set up affection between them. That's okay. I'm not mad that they, like, sort of hooked them up as love interests or whatever, but the, this is so weird.
It's so out of left field, you know?
And don't teach kids that they can't compliment people unless they're romantically, wanting them. Like, that's not a good, healthy thing.
No,
Teach kids to just compliment their friends just because they're their friends or people they respect. Even not even a friend.
A better line would have been Mushu calling Mulan a suck-up.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, oh, you're just trying to get in good with the captain or whatever, is a much better line there. And it makes more sense. Like, you're trying to make up for past mistakes, maybe, or, you want a promotion or something.
Yeah.
But
you going for a promotion, girl?
yeah, that would have been a perfect line from that. But I don't know. I don't like the fact that, like, that is Mushu's entire thing, because we're never shown Mulan, like, looking longingly at Shang. We're not, he takes his shirt off and she doesn't really react. There's nothing up until this point to suggest that they might have some kind of romantic subplot, except that she's the lead female and he's the lead male.
Yeah. So anyway, Mushu has to intervene. He has to make sure that the troops get sent out if his plan is going to work. So he fakes a letter from the general in a very, again, comedic role where Cricky is acting like a typewriter, complete with typewriter sounds.
Yeah, which, again, in the captions are just labeled as clacking. So it doesn't let the audience know that this is a typewriter joke, which would be a useful thing to maybe know. I don't know. Be better caption people.
Yeah, faking for the and they even try to get Khan in on it. Khan doesn't want to be part of it. Khan the horse, to say that he doesn't want. So you have Mushu and Cricky riding on a panda in some stolen armor. A general riding on a panda into battle, that would be awesome.
I love the puppetry, the kind of dual puppetry thing where Cricky's working the helmet head and Mushu has, arms on sticks and stuff. It's great. I love kind of everything about that scene.
Yep. And it works. The letter works and the troop is off to the front line. And it's a long walk to that village. So to keep up spirits, Ling says they should all think of our next song, A Girl Worth Fighting For. Yeah, each one goes into their own ideal of what their perfect girl is like. Girl that's pale, a girl who thinks I'm strong, a girl that can cook. What about a girl
with her own mind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole song, really. And it's not... Definitely the weakest song in this movie.
By miles, yeah. It's not very catchy either. The tune is also kind of subpar. You can kind of, bring honor to us all. You can kind of, remember that little riff. You can remember a lot of reflection. You can remember, of course, I'll make a man out of you. You can remember every bit of that. But this one, I had even forgot this song existed in the context of the movie. It'd been so long since I had seen it, I just forgot that this was a number at all.
Yeah, that. And there is some joke, and there's some I don't know if it's a joke, but Yao and them are kind of ribbing on Ping that, hey, some of the girls are starting to like you and all that. And, obviously Ping isn't interested in the idea. We never see, well, like you said before, we never see either as Mulan or Ping, the character ever show any kind of romantic interest in anyone. And that's not her goal in this movie.
Yeah, it's very much an afterthought.
Yeah.
At all. Yeah.
So yeah, this happy-go-lucky song about finding the girl of your dreams leads us into the village, which has been burned to the ground. That's a shock. That's a 180 twist right there. And Mulan finds the doll that the Huns had, but there are no survivors. The villagers, soldiers, even the general, they're all dead.
This is possibly the only time in Disney animated for kids history, let's say, that many corpses.
They don't show them all. I mean, you don't see blood. I mean, you see the only corpses you see are of the soldiers.
Yeah, but that is a massive field of. They really do a pullback shot on that shows how many hundreds of men are now dead in the soldiers, at least, and you can tell their bodies.
Yeah, for kids.
Yeah, for kids. They don't really show any of the villagers, which, fortunately, we never see the body of the little girl, who it is, very heavily implied is also dead. But it was kind of, I had forgotten, again, that was in the movie, and when they pulled back, I was like, wow, that is not like Disney to show that many freshly slaughtered corpses on screen. Even though it's not really bloody or gory, it is kind of, that's a lot of dead bodies.
That's a lot of dead bodies.
So, yeah.
And Shang finding his father's helmet, and he takes a moment to mourn his father. Whether he's, I think, is it his own sword he leaves behind that Shang does?
It is. He pulls out his own sword and puts the helmet on top of it.
Considering they're going to war, it's not really a smart move, but considering he is mourning his father, I can accept that. Maybe his father gave him that sword. We don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But there really isn't time to mourn the dead. The villagers, the people, their allies. There's no time to mourn because the Huns are now on their way to the Emperor. They have to press on. They are all that's left. As far as they know, they are the only soldiers left in the Chinese army. And
yeah, that was one thing that I was kind of wondering is, like, how tiny is this army if there's like 12 guys from one troop left at the end of this? Like,
maybe they were all there and they all got slaughtered. Maybe there's more slaughter than we know.
Maybe, but if they sent out, I mean, China was a huge and well-populated place even then. Not nearly as much as it is now, of course, but no place was, if every family has to give at least one man up for the army, that's a lot of people to have made it there like that,
But we don't know, as far as they're concerned, and we don't know yet. We don't even know. But as far as Shang is concerned, they are all that's left. Yeah. They're going to keep going.
And as far as the movie shows, they're all that's left. We never see any reinforcements.
Yeah. And Mushu kind of screws it up because he fires a cannon, giving away their position. And he tries to blame Quickie for it. Freaking Mushu.
Yeah.
And the Huns attack. And granted, at this point, they're blaming Ping because Ping was pulling the cart with the cannons on it. There was no possible way he could have lit it, but he was pulling it, so it's his fault.
Yeah, of course. You were the closest person there, so it's your fault.
Yeah. So the Huns are attacking. They're throwing the arrows, and the soldiers retaliate by firing the cannons at the Huns. And the Huns are just charging, straight charging at them, and there's obviously more Huns than there are of our small soldier troop. And they're down to one last cannon. And Shang is trying to get the cannon to aim at Shin Yu, and Mulan grabs it, straight up running, and they're trying to stop him, trying to stop Ping, trying to stop Mulan, because this is a suicide. What Mulan is about to do is suicide, because he's going straight after the Huns, straight on.
Yeah.
But Mulan has a plan. She sees the top of the mountain in her sword, and that's why she's doing it. She fires the cannon. Now, you think she's going to fire straight ahead. Now, according to what Mushu says, firing the cannon straight at Shin Yu, but she fires it at the mountain. Oh, you missed. How can you miss? He was right in front of you. But it causes an avalanche, which takes out the entire Huns.
Yeah.
Killing most of them.
Yeah, Mulan has the highest body count of any Disney princess
The highest
by
body
far.
count of any Disney princess.
Yeah.
The highest body count of any Disney character, period. That's a... Damn.
Well, yeah, because honestly, even the villain in this is not as Shan Yu did not personally kill every last soldier and villager in that last scene.
No.
he had help, so
But
Mulan by
single-handedly-
far has the
Single-
highest body count.
Single-handedly killed the majority of the Hun army. But not before Shan Yu slices her with his sword, right before the cannon fired. And the avalanche kind of gets a little out of control. It's like all the soldiers are trying to save him. Shang gets caught in the avalanche, and Mulan has to save him. They almost go freaking over the cliff, but thanks to an arrow from Yao, they're all saved. Yay! And the sequence itself is beautifully animated, and the way they set it up. Even giving Yao a bit of a hero moment there.
Yeah. I think honestly the true secret least wall of this movie is Chen Po, who, yes, we know he's strong and big, but like he single-handedly pulls 6 people and a horse back off the cliff.
Yes.
So, there you go. There's your we didn't really have one last week, but we do this week.
Yeah. And you have that big moment, you've earned my trust and all of that Shane gives Ping. But Ping collapses from the injury. And well, the jig is up. As the Bennick reveals that Ping is a woman, as we find out in the next scene.
Yeah.
And granted, we don't see anything. The closest we see is the bandages binding Mulan's chest.
Yeah.
So, by law, she should be executed because she committed treason. She went against the law that a woman cannot serve in the military. But Shang spares her. A life for a life. You saved my life, I'm saving your life. But they're not leaving her many supplies as they leave her, so they might as well have killed her off.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like, slow death there.
Yeah, they take all of their supplies. They're gonna go, they're gonna go to the Emperor. As far as they're concerned, the Huns are all dead, even though Mulan killed them all. But they're not leaving Mulan any supplies, barely leaving her the clothes on her back, not even leaving her armor. Like, they take everything.
Yeah.
And Mulan is feeling sorry for herself. She tried to do the right thing and failed. She tries to live the life that she wanted to, and it blew up in her face. And even Mushu comes clean. The Answers never sent him. He just was using Mulan to get into the Answers' good graces. And even Mushu's coming clean. What you did out of love and selfishness. What I did is out of pure selfishness and pride.
Yeah.
But they're still going to sit together because really that's all they have. Is them sticking together. And they decide to go home and face the consequences for their actions.
My favorite reveal in that is like, no, you're great, Mulan. I'm nothing. And then Cricky just chirps and he's like, what do you mean you're not lucky? I do like that moment.
Yeah.
That what I like about this trio, and I've got some problems with the way it's set up, but what I like about this kind of central trio of characters is that they're all pretending to be something that they're not, for various reasons.
Yeah.
I mean, Cricky was never, with the exception of going along with Mushu just to try to help Mulan, Cricky was never like, it's not like Cricky showed up to Grandma and was like, hey, I'm lucky. Grandma just found a cricket and decided to test it and didn't die and decided, okay, lucky cricket. and everything. And Cricky doesn't really like go out of the way to say like, hey, I'm lucky, except for that one moment, and that's just to be able to come along on the trip.
Yeah.
But Mushu is absolutely the kind of the opposite of that. Mushu is constantly trying to be something he is not. To the point where I've never been sure if his statement of when he meets Mulan at the beginning, he says something about like, you're not seeing me at my full size and strength if you did and everything. And we know he's been demoted. So it's possible that he was at one point like a grand and mighty dragon that has been demoted to kind of pocket-sized dragon.
Yeah.
And I've never quite known that because almost everything Mushu says about himself is an unfounded brag.
Mm-hmm.
But Mulan, despite being forced to lie, is kind of one of the most honest characters in the series.
Yeah.
I mean, in the film, excuse me.
Well, there's a sequel, so technically series.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So, but Mulan. Again, Mulan is doing all of this out of. Even she comes to the point where it's like maybe she didn't really do it all for her father, and maybe she did it mostly for herself. She needed to prove something to herself. And in a way she did, but again, it just blew up in her face with her secret coming out. But
again, not her fault.
Yeah,
I mean, this is absolutely the one time that you can totally blame society.
Yeah.
She did everything right, but, she was born
a certain way.
Yeah, born in the wrong body for that, if you want to use that terminology.
Or born in the wrong time in history.
Or born in the wrong time in history. I'm not sure when the right time in history will be, but, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, it turns out that Shan Yu and a handful of the Huns have survived an avalanche. Shan Yu survived an avalanche. That is badass. Yes, he is the villain, but that's badass.
Yeah. I mean, it happens, fortunately. It's not always an immediate death sentence, but that one was particularly brutal. So yeah, this is very shocking.
Yeah,
that anybody survived.
And they're the handful of Huns, they're gonna continue their way to the Emperor. They're gonna finish their mission. Mulan,
well, they're almost there. They can see the Imperial City now.
Yeah. And Mulan sees this and she's gonna follow them. And in the city, the soldiers get a hero's welcome for defeating the Huns, but they're not exactly celebrating this victory because technically it's not their victory. They know it's not their victory.
And they know they treated the one person who did like absolute garbage, so, maybe they should feel sad.
And Mulan rides in and tells Shane that the Huns are still alive. Of course, they don't believe her because to be honest, they don't really have a reason to believe her because she's been lying to them this whole time.
Yeah.
So she's going to find someone that will believe her, but no one even wants to hear anything she wants to say because she's a woman again.
Yeah. And that is one of the saddest points is when Mushu is like, you're a woman again.
Yeah.
Mulan had gotten used to people listening. Yeah, just allowing her to have an opinion on anything. So yeah, that is such a crushing moment to me when he's like, "Nope, you're a woman. They see you as a woman." So.
And Shang is all set to present Shan Yu's sword to the Emperor as a symbol that Shan Yu is dead. The Huns have been defeated, but the Huns attacked. I mean, they're in the dragon that's been walking down this parade the entire time.
Which was really obvious. That's like Scooby-Doo levels of obvious.
Yeah. And Shan Yu's up there. The hawk grabs the sword, returns it to him. They kidnap the Emperor, and they lock the palace doors. There's no one getting in. And, they take one of the statues, and they're trying to ram it in, and Mulan, getting their attention, saying that she has a way to get in. And our loving trio of Yao Ling and Chin Po instantly follow her.
Yeah. And good for them.
Like, it's like, well, she's been all right this far, like, straight, like, without question. They follow her. And it's supposed to be played for laughs, but Yao Ling and Chin Po dressing as concubines to a reprise of I'll Make a Man Out of You.
Yeah, I'm not fond of that.
And-
I am fond of this as a cosplay, though. There are some people who cosplay them in the women's clothing, as the concubines,
Yeah.
and I absolutely love it. So bravo, more of that.
Especially with Yao's beard.
Yeah. But again, we get the Mulan is thinking. She's not her idea isn't brute force, which is the way they're trying to get in. It's to strategically survey the situation and find another way.
Yeah, they can't go through the front, they'll go through the back.
Yeah.
That's what they do. And
Or up through a window. We can't get in on the ground floor, let's go up through a window.
And Shang joins them, straight up. And all 5 climb the pillars just like Mulan did earlier in the film. So it's Mulan's ideas are getting them to where they need to be. And we have the scene with the Huns looking at the concubines and ugly concubines and yeah. But the ruse works as they take out the Huns, guarding the door as Shang goes straight after Shan Yu. I mean, and they make it clear that they want Shang because he's yes, Mulan is a skilled warrior, but Shang is the strongest of the 5. Although Chin Po probably could have taken out Shang Yu incredibly easy.
Yeah.
But Shang had because he's the commanding officer, I guess. And they're able to get the Emperor to safety by sliding down from the palace. But Shang is taken out quickly. Big old headbutt from Shan Yu onto Shang. It's just taken out. And then Mulan, rather than escaping, and they're telling her to come down, gets Shan Yu's attention by revealing herself as the soldier from before, pulling her hair back.
Yeah.
And it's like, and Mulan tells Mushu to go to the tower holding the fireworks, and it's like they have a plan. As she leads Shan Yu to the roof, and Shan Yu thinks he's already, he's cornered Mulan. There's no way out of this, and even taking the sword out to kill her, but Mulan very tactfully takes out her fan and disarms Shan Yu with a fan. That is badass.
I've always wanted to learn how to use a fighting fan. And that wasn't even a fighting fan, but
Yeah.
Fighting fan as a weapon style is
And she has the sword in her. Again, that's another of what you would call the shot, is the shot of her with the sword.
Yeah.
On the roof. And she calls to Mushu, and which obviously Shan Yu turns around and sees the fireworks. Oh yeah, we did skip over Mushu using the kite as a excuse me,
as an evil puppet wing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Intimidation.
Mushu's kind of got an interesting intimidation role here for my gamers out there, but I like it. I like the kind of weird bat winged thing that he's doing, and it works.
That had to be a reference to Batman in some capacity.
Perhaps I could see that as being a thing.
Anyway, so Mushu, having the world's biggest fireworks strapped to himself, launches himself straight at Shan Yu. And Shan Yu can't go anywhere because Mulan has stabbed the Shan Yu's cloak to the roof, and he can't move. He could have easily taken off the cloak, but, he's not thinking at this point.
Well, depending on the style of cloak, he might not have.
Yeah. So Mushu hits him with the giant firework, pushing him into another tower full of fireworks. Explosion. He dead. So technically, Mushu kills Shan Yu, not Mulan.
Well, it was Mulan's plan.
Yeah. Well, Mulan killed the other Huns, so she still has a higher body count. And while the explosion is happening, it's a very cute. Must get off the roof. Must get off the roof. Must get off the roof.
Yeah.
As she grabs Quick Key and Mushu jumping off the roof. Yeah, and Chifu's dead. Shan Yu is dead. Chifu.
Yeah.
And Shang are arguing over Mulan. It's like, yes, you need to let that. He doesn't even really address her as a woman. He said that creature, as if don't protect her. She's not worth protecting. And she's a hero. She saved us, and she's a woman. She's not worth anything. And it's like, Chifu, even though seeing Mulan has just did this freaking heroic act, and his opinion has not changed her at all. Meanwhile, Shang's opinion has changed, seeing that man or woman, Mulan's kind of a badass.
Yeah.
But the Emperor put a stop to this. He stopped this argument, and the Emperor says so. And then he kind of starts to belittle her. You lied, you stole your father's armor, you lied to get into the army, you destroyed my palace.
Yeah, she did wreck that palace too.
But she still saved everybody. She still saved the China from the Huns. And he bows to her. The Emperor bows to Mulan. Which, of course, Chifu, being the suck-up that he is, also bows to Mulan. And then the soldiers bow to Mulan. And then everybody bows to Mulan.
Yeah. Good scene.
Good scene.
I like it.
That is like the heartwarming moment that she and even Mulan is like, what is going on here? Why is this happening? And the Emperor offers her a place on his council. But there's Chifu kind of, again, still being a smartass. There's no positions open in the council. Oh yeah, well then she can have your job. What?
Yeah.
And honestly, Chifu kind of deserved that for being
he's a jerk.
For a jerk this entire movie.
Yeah.
But Mulan just wants to go home. She's been away from home long enough. She wants to go home, which is fine. Very respectable for her. And then the Emperor gives Mulan his own medallion off his neck, saying, take this so they know, your family knows what you did for your country. And he gives her Shan Yu's sword. This is so the world can know what you did for us.
Yeah.
And Mulan hugs her friends goodbye. She hugs her trio friends, and she hugs the Emperor. Can she do that? I don't know. I just like how Shang just shrugged, like, I don't know. This has never happened before.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I've never seen the Emperor. I wouldn't know.
Yeah. This is the first time I've met the Emperor. I don't know if you can hug the Emperor or not. You tell us you can't hug the Emperor.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then there's Shang. And all Shang can say is, you fight good. And let's her go. Like, he was trying to find a way to compliment her without being a creep, I guess?
Yeah.
He was trying to find the right words to say to her that would not come off in a bad light. So he says, you're a good fighter. Which is a good, because she is a capable fighter, but it was very much not what Mulan wanted to hear, which is very weird for this part of the movie.
Yeah. Because once again, we don't really get any lead up that she's into him.
Yeah.
With the exception of the one line of Mushu and her just being a genuinely kind person. There's nothing about any of the way she treats Shang that really comes across as romantic interest to me. She comforts him when his father dies, which is what you should do as a human. She compliments him on a talent she sees him have, which is, again, just a thing humans should do for one another. I mean, she's just, like, kind to him? Why is this coming across as why is this intended, let's say, to come across as romantic interest to the audience?
Now you could, I mean, if this was a differently written movie, you could have said that Mulan maybe wanted more of a credit than Shang was giving her at that point.
Yeah, that's true. But we know from what happens in the next scene that, that's not where they were going with this.
Yeah, obviously we see the Emperor, and honestly, it is one of the better lines in this movie, and I do like it, is when he says to Shang, "You don't meet a girl like that every dynasty."
Yeah.
I like the line. Yeah.
Go out and get her. I like it too. It's a good line.
Go get your girl. Straight up. Go get your girl.
Yeah. Shoot your shot, man. Come on.
Yeah. And the next scene is Mulan coming home. She's home. She's with. She presents the sword and the medallion to her father, and he just tosses it aside, knowing that these are gifts from the Emperor. He doesn't care. He has his daughter back. He hugs his daughter. And again, one of the best lines in this movie: "The greatest gift and honor is having you for a daughter."
Yeah. And I think that's, we said earlier that, Mulan didn't necessarily want to be a man. She just wanted to be a good fighter. But the only reason she wanted to be a good fighter was that she wanted to protect her family and bring them honor. And she's fulfilled that. Her father is safe. All of her family is safe. China is safe. And her family now admits that she's not a disappointment. She's not a dishonor to them. And that's really all she wanted. And of all of the kind of Disney I Want songs that, the kind of threads that go out, is that all Mulan wanted was just to feel like she didn't disappoint her family.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a sad, small little dream in comparison to some of the other ones.
It's almost like Quasimodo.
Yeah, just one day.
Yeah, Quasimodo just wanted to spend one day outside. Yeah. And Mulan, she just wanted her family to respect her, to see her as who she is and be proud of that.
Yeah. And I don't even think she knows who she is at the beginning of the movie. No. She just knows that she's not fit to, she's not cut out to be the perfect bride. I mean, that's what it is that she knows, she doesn't know what it is yet, but she knows it's something not what she's been.
And by the end, she knows who she is.
Yeah, by the end, she knows who she is. And the interesting thing is that she could have kept being an advisor, a general, a person who makes big decisions, but she didn't want that. She wanted a simple life. She just didn't want to disappoint her family, which I think is a really sweet lesson, Okay, final scene.
So we get Mulan's grandmother. Yeah, I should have brought home a man instead. Enter Shang. But on cue, here's Shang. Grandma's thirst is real.
Yeah, Grandma is super thirsty.
We don't know how long Grandpa's been gone.
Yeah, that is true.
We don't know, this might have been the first time in a long time she's seen a young man. So Shang came, according to what Shang says, he came to return Mulan's helmet, which is technically her father's helmet. But he's kind of rambling, he's kind of stumbling his words. He's trying to get to a point, but he doesn't know how to get there. And Mulan cuts to the chase. Says, "Do you want to stay for dinner?" And of course, love Grandma's line. "Would you like to stay forever?"
Yeah, I like Mulan's like, "Grandma, I don't even really know if I like him that way yet. Can we maybe just not?" Yeah.
Grandma really isn't ashamed, though.
Yeah.
If Mulan doesn't want him, Grandma will take him.
Yeah.
And begrudgingly, under protest, but knowing that he did well, the first ancestor allows Mushu to become a guardian again. And party time! Everybody gets a happy ending. Play that pop single, "Play True to Your Heart" by 98 Degrees and Stevie Wonder. I call it the Shrek ending, where you play the pop single, and then everyone is having their little dance party because
So this is Eddie Murphy's fault. This whole trend is Eddie Murphy's fault.
Yes.
Okay, good. At least we know who to blame.
So, all of these films, DreamWorks films all have that ending of the dance party.
Yeah.
And you can kind of go back to this movie as kind of the first that had it.
And I'm not fond of this ending, but also I can't think of a different one I would have liked better. Because the only really other option in the Disney style is to end it on a kiss. And I'm so glad they didn't do that. Because, wow, is this romance completely unearned, in my opinion. And I think it would have felt cheap to end it on a kiss.
Yeah, they did not. If they had written it better, you probably could have had. I think that they did not want to have the idea of Shang having romantic feelings for another man, at least in his mind.
Yeah. But you could have at least seen that Mulan was into it. Like you could have seen Mulan say like, wow, he's really handsome or something. But Mulan seems completely
Non-sexual?
Well, yes, but like aromantic. She doesn't seem interested in a relationship at all with anybody ever in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Until that final "Would you like to come to dinner?" Which honestly, if you didn't know what Disney was going for and if it wasn't for the sequel,
yeah,
you could say was just like, "Hey, no, we're friends. I'll break your heart later. Let's eat dinner now. I'm glad to see you again."
Yeah.
So yeah. It's kind of a weak ending, the kind of ending it on a dance party, but the other option is not great. I can't really think of a third option.
You could have just, not necessarily the dance party, but it would have been a sudden ending, which you had, Shang and the family going into the house to have dinner, and oh, you're a guardian again, and then he kind of has a big moment, and then you kind of end it there. But again, that's a sudden ending.
Yeah. I absolutely loathe True to Your Heart. I really do. I don't like it. That's a personal thing. It's not my thing.
98 Degrees is such a 90s band, man.
Yeah, really. But also it's got that kind of, I don't know. It's got a very weird. It's probably the most pop song of all these attempted pop songs.
And it doesn't fit the tone of the movie at all.
Yeah,
it's so left field.
Yeah, it is out of nowhere. When it started, I was like, this cannot be how this movie ends, because I had completely erased this ending from my brain. Yeah. So, kind of stumbles at the finish line, but...
Yeah, and we also get, we were talking about it last week, Christina Aguilera doing Reflection.
Yeah. Which is serviceable. It's no Celine Dion singing Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably the high water mark, closely followed by Colors of the Wind in the pop song version. Mm-hmm. Those two I think are kind of the top pop song versions. And then, well, I don't know, maybe Can You Feel the Love Tonight, but that wasn't really a diegetic kind of song in the movie. It was always kind of a third party pop song. Even in the context of the movie. So if you want to talk about pop song covers, I think it's definitely Beauty and the Beast followed by Colors of the Wind. Reflection is up there. It's all right. Christina Aguilera can sing.
And this was really she was really getting into her role as a big pop star at this time.
Yeah, this was kind of how you knew she really made it.
Yeah.
It's like you got asked to do a Disney movie. That's big.
And we've made it. We've already talked about it. Christina Aguilera already has ties to Disney through the Mickey Mouse Club.
Oh yeah. So I mean, this wasn't her first Disney thing by far. No.
No. I hope they get those episodes on Disney Plus eventually, but music rights might be an issue.
Yeah. That is the one thing where Disney still has trouble sometimes is music rights.
So now that we've gone through Mulan, does this movie hold up?
Absolutely. I liked every bit of this, not every bit of this, but I liked 90% of this at least.
Yeah. I still think so. And again, it's you could say it's one of the last good Renaissance movies of this second half of the Disney Renaissance.
Yeah.
Because you also have Pocahontas, Hercules, and Hunchback. I would say between this and Hunchback being great movies.
Yeah, I think I enjoy Hunchback more overall because really the only thing I don't like about Hunchback is the gargoyles. That's the only part of the movie that doesn't hold up for me in some way. There's more issues I have with Mulan that impact my enjoyment of it. The comedy, once again, is a bit, but fortunately they did kind of rein in Eddie Murphy a bit. Like you said, the modern references were lesser. A lot of the stuff with Cricky I really like. You know, the humor with Cricky I love. I never really think that goes too far. The humor with Con the horse. Basically, we should have kept it with Frank Welker as the comedy relief, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
We could have done without Eddie Murphy in this, I think. Some of the jokes I don't quite hold up in other ways. You know, there's
a lot of sexist jokes in here.
And you know, like we said, the cross-dressing jokes and stuff. You know, can we not? But much less cringy, of course, than either Pocahontas or Hercules. Mm-hmm. So I still like this movie, and I still find it really cool. And I am finally looking forward to a Disney live-action remake.
Yeah, it's going to come out at the end of March, and I'm looking forward to it. In terms of the characters, Mulan is still very much a character in the Disney parks.
Oh,
She doesn't walk around as much, but like there's those princess meet and greets at both Disneyland and Magic Kingdom in Florida. You can find Mulan. She's one of the regulars.
Yeah. So I mean, good film. Not the best of the Renaissance, I think we can safely say. But I really liked this film, and I think that it was only hamstringed by lazy comedy. Mm-hmm. I think if they'd upped their comedy game a little bit, this would have been a pretty close to flawless movie. I really do. I like the story, the legend of Mulan, what I know of it. I am by far not a Chinese literature scholar at all, but I do like the story. I like the concept of this being a Disney movie. I want more. I want more little girls to have role models like this. I want little boys to have role models like this. You know, I like everything about the moral of the story, which I think is ultimately, at least my reading of it, that maybe when a society prevents large portions of its population from contributing to their full extent, that it really does make the civilization worse. You know, in this, it made them less safe.
Yeah.
You know, to not allow somebody like Mulan into the army. Also, you might not have had to do that giant conscription if you'd have just let the women who wanted to fight into the army.
Yeah.
Just saying. But also, you know, you can take that metaphor farther, you know? If you're not allowing people a chance at education because they were born poor on a farm, you're cutting out people who could be doing great things for your society. So, I don't know. I think casting a wider net is always kind of better, sociologically speaking. And I think that's really the ultimate moral to be taken from this, is that you've got to let people find their way to contribute instead of your way to contribute.
Exactly. In a way, when this movie had a great impact on another movie that would come out many, many years later, in a way, because when they announced that Brave was coming out, I was very looking forward to it because I thought it would be like Mulan.
Yeah,
You know?
me too. That's exactly what I thought when I saw Brave. I was like, yes, we finally get another heroine in the style of Mulan.
Yeah. And honestly, the fact that it's almost a crime that those two did not interact more in Ralph Breaks the Internet.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say, if we're just talking about Disney princesses as a whole, it is shocking to me how little Mulan is actually sexualized throughout this movie, just in any form. Which, you can't say for Princess Jasmine. You can't say it for Ariel. You can't say it for Pocahontas. Most of the Disney princesses are kind of, and Belle, they always talked about her great beauty and stuff like that. But Mulan is not drawn to be overly sexual. She's a pretty girl, yes. But she's not drawn in a kind of exaggerated Disney princess style, I'd say. Her clothing choices, never once would you actually think that this character has breasts. Like, even in her female clothing.
Yeah.
They don't really accentuate her chest in any way, which cannot be said for other Disney princesses.
I think it's more of they wanted to have an easy transition from looking like a woman to looking like a man.
Well, maybe, but a rigid armor breastplate like that will define a shape no matter what. So you don't really have to worry about drawing around that because armor does that on its own. Armor does not automatically conform to the shape of breasts. For you people out there drawing fantasy armor, please stop doing that. So yeah, I mean, I don't think it should have been an issue, but I appreciate that they didn't do that. I'm not saying that, like, no breasts, but like it wasn't over accentuated, and you could believe it that she's an age appropriate teenage girl. And also, Shang never says she's pretty. He says she's a good fighter, and he seems to respect her skill, but he never once is like, wow, you're a girl, you're so pretty, like never once in that. Her family doesn't make an overwhelming, the rest of society seems to be like, you must be beautiful and you must put on all this makeup and you must dress in a certain way. But her family doesn't really point to it as that's her one great attribute. So I really like that, especially given how horrible depictions of Asian women specifically have been over the years in the West. I'm glad that Mulan is kind of the first desexualized Disney princess in a lot of ways.
And we'll see where they go with this when the remake comes out. I'm looking forward to it and seeing what they're what they're changing, what they're gonna do different, and what they're keeping from their version of the story.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be very interested in it. That might be the first time we actually have to do a film while it's still in theaters.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm super excited. We'll see how it turns out. But overall, this is a great movie. I would recommend it for a rewatch if you haven't rewatched it. There's still some magic here,
Yeah, this definitely keeps the magic alive in this one, and if you got Disney Plus, if you got Hulu, it's on there too. If I would recommend watching this with not only with a young girl, but with a young boy.
Yeah, I really do think that boys need to see more women in parts like this.
Badass women.
Yeah, yes, that too, but also women that never get sexualized in that way. That are shown as intelligent and strategic and worth something other than as a love interest.
Mm-hmm.
So, good job. Good job, Disney. I think this was far better an attempt at some of the different political issues, of course, but an attempt to make a kind of political Disney movie than Pocahontas was by far.
One thing we haven't talked about in this one was this film was for the most part done by the Florida team, the team over at Disney MGM Studios.
Yeah.
Which most of the films up to this point have been done by the Walt Disney Animation Studios in Burbank, California. The Florida team wanted their own film to work on, and this was it, and I think they knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And honestly, the little bits that look like CGI, you know, some of the crowd shots towards the end and things like that, where you can tell they've kind of computer enhanced some of the 2D animation. Beautiful. Still kind of seamless. Like, if you don't know what you're looking for, it's easy to miss a lot of them. So, you know, bravo, because that was not as kind of a given at the time as it is now.
So I think that we said everything we can say about Mulan '98.
Yeah, go watch it again.
Go watch it again.
Give yourself a little treat.
This movie brings honor to us all.
Yes, absolutely.
So we only have one movie left in the Disney Renaissance.
Oh no.
So, and there's a thing that this movie is not on Disney Plus. So we're gonna have to go to the uncharted waters of Netflix.
Oh.
Dun dun dun. So we're gonna have to, I know you've already binged The Witcher, so we have something else to watch.
Yeah. A reason to keep your Netflix subscription going for another little bit.
Yeah, if it wasn't for The Witcher, everyone would still be talking about The Mandalorian.
True. I can talk about both. I can do both.
So next week we are going to be watching Tarzan, Disney's attempt at the adaptation of the story of Tarzan, which borrows heavily from a lot of other adaptations of the source material.
Indeed. But we'll get to that. We'll get to that when we get to it.
So, is there anything else we can say?
No. Thank you for joining us for Mulan, and thank you for joining us so far on this journey. This will be our 11th episode.
Yeah, this is 11 episodes already.
We're into double digits.
Yeah, we're a thing now. We're already running with it, and we're getting more and more fans every week. I've noticed our social media is getting new followers every week, and we're getting more new listeners through iTunes and Spotify. And again, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening to us. Thank you for giving our opinions a chance. And again, if you have an opinion on any of the movies we've been talking about so far, let us know. We're always open to new suggestions of other films. We want to hear other people's opinions. Maybe you didn't like Mulan. Maybe you hated it. Tell us why you didn't like it if that's the case. Or maybe you took a completely different message from this movie than we did. We want to hear that too.
Absolutely. Anything you want to share with us, please do. We love hearing from you. And join us next week for Tarzan. I've never been able to do that.
No. Rest your voice. Rest your voice. We got a week until we figure this one out. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, others, anyone who's listening, thank you for listening to this one, and we will be back next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Rewatching the Magic. We invite you to keep the magic going by joining the conversation online. Find us on Facebook at Rewatching the Magic, on Twitter at Rewatch the Magic, and of course, find all new episodes at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com. Until next time, remember, the magic is for everyone. It only stops if you let it.